Welcome to Play by Players, an MLSPA podcast. Now here's your host, former MLS player, Bobby Boswell.
Welcome to the podcast. We are joined by one of the young studs of MLS. He's got quite the personality on the field. He's got a great personality off the field. I'd like to welcome to the podcast, Chris Mueller.
Thanks for having me on, man. Thanks for having me, and I appreciate the warm welcome. Let's get into it.
Awesome. Well, I mean, let's talk about you. I mean, are you in pretty good spirits? I'm imagining the answer is yes right now.
Yeah, I'm as good as I can possibly be. You know, I'm just preparing, obviously, for this first playoff game and taking things day by day. It's kind of, we've had a while since the last game. Now we're kind of transitioning into our week where we're going to kick things off and get things going. But yeah, I'm enjoying life. I'm feeling really good.
What's the vibe there in Orlando? I mean, this has kind of been, I don't follow a whole lot of guys because there's been a lot of turnover. But I know since you've been there, this has kind of been one of the initial goals, right? Is to get to this point. What's the mood of the guys like, and how are you holding up in terms of, are you excited? Are you nervous? A little bit of both?
I would say I'm more excited than anything else, right? I think that this is a fantastic opportunity that we have that's kind of approaching here quicker than we expect. But no, the spirits are great, honestly, with all of the guys as well. I think that making the playoffs has been something that Orlando has been longing to do, and it's been on our goal list ever since I've been here. So to accomplish that goal has been great. We've definitely had good feelings about it in the locker room, having accomplished that goal. But we've kind of closed that chapter now, and we're kind of focused on, the next goal, which is obviously bringing us a trophy back to the city. I think that that's our long-term goal, and I think that that's something that we can surely accomplish if we just focus in and find ways to continue to stay motivated as we keep pushing through this playoff run.
Well, yeah, I know a lot of the analysts that a lot of people like to give a hard time are they're picking you guys, as their horse to win it. So. I don't think many people are going to bet against you, especially early on. So, good luck to you when that comes around. I always like to throw it back to the beginning. I like to talk about you growing up and let's talk about where you're from. You're an Illinois kid, from the burbs of Chicago. How far were you from Bridgeview growing up?
About an hour, I would say, just because of that Chicago traffic. It might not be actually that far, but Bridgeview was about an hour, I would say, from where I lived.
Okay, and did you follow MLS as a kid, or did you go to games, or were you just kind of doing your own thing?
I had gone to a couple of games back when, like, Whatemo Blanco was the big player for the Fire, and I remember having gone to a couple games back then. But honestly, I didn't follow it too much. Obviously, I played for the Sockers. Like you said, I grew up in Schaumburg, Illinois, which is a suburb outside of the city, and played for a club out there and close to where I lived, and enjoyed every minute of it. Stayed there ever since I had converted from, that kind of travel soccer experience into something a little bit more serious when I knew that was the path that I wanted to follow. So stuck with them, stuck it out, and yeah, it was a great experience. I'm really thankful for it.
All right. Well, I know you're a big family guy on your Instagram. I always see you got stuff with your brothers, and tell me a little bit about growing up. I'm the youngest of four boys. I'm a big believer in guys that had brothers are a little bit rougher around the edges just by nature. Tell me about the theme with you from what I've seen as a player, and then following you off the field as a person. I think there's this competitive edge that you have, and I'm kind of looking for, where did we get this competitive edge? And would you say it started with your family and your brothers?
It might have, honestly. I'm not so sure. I know that growing up, me and my older brother, since we're closer in age, I'm the middle of three, just so you know. But me and my older brother had kind of jumped around sports when we were younger. I had tried everything. I played basketball. I played baseball. I did wrestling for a while, which I thought was a lot of fun as well. But yeah, I think that when you have those three brothers at home, you guys are constantly playing games. Me and my little brother used to play what we would call like mini soccer in our little playroom that we had in the house. And, if you're competing in the backyard, playing games with the neighbors, we're just constantly playing and constantly competing. And I was I don't know what formed in my personality, but I was someone who always wanted to win and really, really did not enjoy losing. I've been the biggest sore loser since I was a little kid. I remember when I was like in wrestling and stuff, if I had lost a match, I had just started as well. I wrestled some kid who had wrestled for like 8 years and was like just one of the best kids in the conference. I remember in middle school, and I had lost to him in my first match, and I would cry and I would throw my headgear and I would just be so mad because I just didn't want to lose. And my dad was like, dude, it's fine, like you're just starting, and just for me, that's just how I am in everything, if it's board games, if it's whatever it is, I always want to win, I'm not one that does well with losing.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. And I played for some old Dynamo teams that we didn't say that we were winners. We were just guys that hated losing, meaning we expected to win. So when people would say, oh, y'all were so humble in victory, and we said, we weren't humble. We expected to win. And they said, y'all were terrible losers. And I'd say, it wasn't that I'm a terrible loser. I just didn't expect to lose. And
Yeah.
I don't know how that feels. And that's why I would act the way I'd act when I lose. But it sounds like you had a little bit of that growing up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I would say that anyone who knows me really well would say that competitiveness definitely encompasses my personality.
Well, let me ask you this. I know I want to talk about not playing soccer in high school, but that's a little bit a couple questions away. Did you wrestle to high school, or did you quit everything in high school as you got that way to focus mainly on soccer?
I wrestled from in fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, all the way up until high school when it kind of got more serious. The whole reason of me getting into wrestling was to get fit for football, or football meaning soccer. Like, it was unbelievable training. I would go from soccer right to the wrestling room, and just how, I don't know if you've ever been in one, but they're hot and they're sweaty, and you got the mats, and the trainings are ridiculous because the matches are so hard. In a 90-minute game back in the day was nothing for me compared to what was it, like a 3-minute, 6-minute wrestling match. It was really good for me, I thought. And that was the whole reason why I did it. But I also loved it too, because it was like we've been talking about, just that like one-on-one competing, fighting, a sport that's full of heart and toughness. So yeah, I did that. That was like the second one. I did the longest up until soccer. And then when high school came, I obviously just elected to take the academy route and played for the Sockers all throughout those years.
You mix it up with the guys ever, or no? You goof off with the guys and wrestle around, or no?
I might have gotten into a couple of scuffles, but it wasn't anything intentional.
Okay. Well, no, I wrestled a little bit more as a hobby, and then I'm a big fan of martial arts and UFC. And we had a guy in DC named Jameel Walker, and he went to the Air Force Academy, and he was one of their wrestlers. And I would always attack him, and he would always choke me out. And I probably outweighed him by 100 pounds, but he always got me. So I'm a big fan of wrestlers in general. I have so much respect for anyone that can put their body through what you did, I guess, growing up. But like you said, it's all about getting ready for soccer, using that as a cross training method. So let's fast forward. You mentioned the Chicago Sockers. At what point, did you realize, that you're going to focus solely on soccer and not anything else? I mean, did they force your hand in that decision in terms of the way that soccer works in this country?
Like, is in not playing high school soccer?
Yeah, for me, high school soccer was massive, and my team sucked. I think we won like no games when I was there, but it was all, for me, the social aspect of it was awesome. And that, it was like, how do your friends and girls you like know that you're an athletic guy? I guess why, I don't like that they don't encourage kids to play soccer now in high school, because they're saying it's going to ruin their abilities or their chances of making it to the next level.
Yeah, well, I had always heard, kind of the same similar stories, and I was told also that I was going to get better training, which I thought that I did at the Sockers through their top talent program, which it was at that time. Even though a lot of the guys went back and opted to play high school, I had always just sticking with the club. And like you're saying, it was kind of weird because I would be in school known kind of as this soccer guy, but also nobody really knew me, so they would always compare me to the best guy on the high school team there. Are you as good as Allen? Like this guy. And I'm like, I don't know. But I mean, yeah, I enjoyed the top talent program as well. I think that I was able to build some really special relationships with kids that I'm still talking to this day, with some coaches that I still keep in contact with. So I think that it was obviously, looking back, I think it all worked out.
Yeah, obviously it worked out. And that's my thing. I don't like to use guys that made it as the example, right? Because for me, it's more about for every, I don't know what the number is, 100 guys that join the Sockers, 99 of them don't make it, and you do. And then they say, well, it worked for Chris, but it's like Chris was going to make it whether he played high school soccer or he wrestled in high school while playing. So, you know what I mean? It's just kind of one of those. It's not a fair litmus test, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree.
All right. Well, then we fast forward. So you don't play high school, but you end up getting you end up deciding to go to school at University of Wisconsin-Madison. And something that shocked me is that you said you went there for its educational side, whereas a lot of people I know went there more for the drinking side of the school.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't, so to say, like a huge partier in high school. Obviously, I think I experimented a little bit going into college, like everyone does. You have to learn that way. You get out, you have no rules. You're kind of learning how to be a man and hold your own. So I think that for that reason, it was great. It was, obviously, I had a fabulous college experience. Taught me how to deal with distraction. I would say definitely in my last 2 years of college, because like you said, Wisconsin is a huge party school. Outside of the academics, which are great, and the athletics, which are great. Also, it kind of came to a point when I was in high school where it was kind of between two schools, Loyola Chicago and Wisconsin. Those were the two schools that I had offers from to go and play for. I wasn't like super highly recruited, but it also came down to obviously some financial stuff and some scholarship help that Wisconsin was able to offer. It ended up like I said about the high school thing. It ended up working out. I had an amazing 4-year experience at Wisconsin, playing all 4 years. I think I grew so much, especially having, started from being on a team that wasn't so good, and kind of the bottom feeders of the Big Ten, and went our way to winning a championship when I left. So I think I got every aspect of growth in that entire experience, off the field, maturing as a person, but also growing on the field as a player.
Okay. And, like you mentioned, you were there 4 years, and, you kind of hint at some stuff, and, when I get ready for this interview, we kind of have a similar story, and mine was, I think you had a little bit of a tough time your sophomore year. I think mine was kind of sophomore, junior year, where I was getting in a lot of fights with my teammates. I was getting in a lot of fights outside of the program. I think I led the nation in cards my sophomore to junior year or something, where I basically, like, they're like, if you get one more card at all, I think I was going to be suspended for the year. And
Oh, wow.
it was a tough time, and my coach wanted me to go to anger management. And I really think I wanted to transfer. I was like, I'm done. I'm out of here. I blamed the school, but I find that I became a better person, and I was a lot more able. I became a guy that was able to control his emotions a lot better. Through that transition. And I'd like, if you're okay talking about it, I'd like you to talk a little bit about your own battle with kind of becoming a man, is the way I describe it, when you were at Wisconsin.
No, yeah, I think that all in all, I was just kind of stuck pointing fingers, right? I didn't want to take a lot of the blame for having not played maybe as many minutes or as many games, and not as having scored any goals my freshman year, and not living up to my own expectations of myself those first 2 years. I was trying to point the blame, trying to transfer out and maybe go to a little bit of a smaller school where I knew I would play and things would be easier for me. But ultimately, I knew that wasn't that was obviously the path of least resistance, the one where I maybe wouldn't have grown as much. And to fight through that adversity, it was a lot. I was having trouble, buying into my coach's system. I thought that the guys were distracted. I didn't think that, we were in a winning culture. I didn't think that we were bound to win anything. And having had 2 years there where we were, eighth and ninth out of 9 teams in the Big Ten, it's hard to be optimistic in those following years. But obviously, when I was transitioning into that junior year, where I knew that I would have a little bit more of a leadership role because I was older. I knew that if I could lead by example and kind of take things by the horns and be the determining factor of like what my destiny was going to turn out to be. I knew that those years were also vitally important. I kind of had to take a hard look in the mirror and say, okay, well, the dream that I've had since I was a little kid in becoming a professional soccer player isn't looking so grand right now. I'm on a team that obviously hasn't won anything. I haven't had good stats, and I'm going into my junior year. So unless I really turn it up and really get focused and hone in on it, I always knew that like I felt like I had the ability, but maybe my mentality wasn't as strong as it should have been, you know. So it actually came through reading a book, which I'm sure that you know that I'm huge into, and it really gave me a new perception and a new paradigm as to how I can approach my football and my sporting mentality. So and from there, obviously, I just had seen results start to pour in my junior year. Obviously, we turned things around. We were one of the best teams in the Big Ten, went to the Big Ten championship. Unfortunately, didn't make the NCAA tournament, which I still don't understand why to this day, but it's okay. But then, yeah, with a continued hard work in the offseason and limiting my distraction, really, really focusing in on what I was trying to do, I had another even better senior year and not getting, I wasn't super content with what I had gotten the previous year. And yeah, I think that from there, that just like has stemmed my belief and brought me kind of to who I am today and how I've continued to persevere throughout every year of my career.
Well, you said a lot there for those listening that are curious. The book is Mind Gym, but we're going to get into the books a little bit later and Chris's book club. Let's talk about you talk about your junior and your senior year, turning it around, becoming more of a leader. I believe you were second team All-American and you Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year. The crazy thing is, now you're leading scorer for your team in MLS. But in college, you were more of a setup guy, and I'm a big numbers person. I always look at numbers and stats, and if my math was correct, which it usually is you led the nation in assists, I think your senior year. But if you look at your numbers, you had an assist in every other game that you played in college. So I know you talk about, maybe you didn't have the stats and what you wanted early on, but, from a big book of work, you had an assist in every other game. And that's got to say something about, how hard you were working on it and off the field in terms of getting ready and then helping your teammates score goals.
Yeah, for sure. I also think that my role is a little bit different here. I think that one of the main things in college that I kind of honed in on and that we were really good at was set pieces, and I had taken all the set pieces. We practiced a lot on those, and I got a lot of assists off those. And the system we played was a little bit different as well. We played a 4-4-2, a little bit more direct in that sense. We weren't really building out of the back that much. I was the false nine and played underneath one of our bigger strikers, Tom Barlow, who now plays for New York Red Bulls.
Yep.
And he's really good at making movements off the ball. And really what we would do was play the ball long. I would pick up seconds, dribble a bunch of guys, and then just feed him and feed other guys on set pieces. That was, I would say, the cream of the crop in that sense, But yeah, I mean, obviously if you look at my whole college career and I didn't know that was a number, actually having an assist every other game. The majority obviously of those came my senior year, having like 20 assists or something like that. I think it was 20, but
I think it was more than that, but I don't like throwing out whole numbers,
yeah.
so I'm not exactly sure. It was like
But
23 or something
yeah,
crazy.
But I remember too, my coach had brought me in after my sophomore year, and we had a conversation about, moving forward. He had always seen me kind of when I was on the field and in my younger years being someone who, when I nutmeg somebody, I would relish that and be super pumped and think that I'm, it would feed my ego and, whatever that is, how, that feeling. But then he was telling me that the more important things is stats. You need to score goals being an attacking player, and you need to have assists. And assists are just as important as goals. And he would tell me that. So I instantly kind of, became a pass first kind of guy. Even now, I feel like I'm in some situations where people think I should shoot, and I'm always looking to pass. Something I'm still learning to grow through, but that's now just kind of in my character. I still think that I could have more assists even this year. But like I said, my role has changed a little bit. I'm playing on a little bit, obviously, wider position where I'm coming inside almost like that second forward, but getting into positions where I could score goals. Where, like I said, in college, it was a little bit different. So I think that that's why you're kind of seeing the skew in the numbers. But
yeah, Yeah, and then it's just for your own thing as a pro. I mean, anytime you pass a guy the ball, like that's a good way to get. I don't know what you want to call him. I would say a guy buying you a beer, but it's a good way to endear yourself to your teammates
Yeah,
when you're looking for them. You know, there's guys that I see some of these forwards in these leagues, not just MLS, but you know, the guy gets it on the wing, he goes in, he puts it in the top shelf, and they're still mad that he didn't cross the ball. So you know, guys want to play with guys that are looking to get assists. That's for sure.
for sure. Yeah, I think that that's a really important quality. Obviously, you know, it's giving the ball to the guy who has the best chance of scoring. That's how I
Yeah,
always look at it.
yeah.
You know, so.
Well, before we leave college, I just want to say, you know, you talk about you were a professional. You know, I think you kind of developed a gym routine there, and you avoided the nightlife. I only have to ask just because one of my best friends, I'm from Tampa, by the way. I'm from Tampa, Florida, and one of my best friends went to Wisconsin, and he made me go up there one spring break for the Mifflin Block Party.
Yeah.
And I have to ask, I know you didn't party. You might even have been too young at that age, but did you go to Mifflin Block Party or did you avoid it altogether?
No, I had definitely experienced it in my first 2 years. Like I said, my first 2 years, I was definitely I was working hard and training on the pitch always. That's just my competitive nature. I always wanted to win. I was always training, you know, whatever. But I was also enjoying my college experience, you know, as I had learned to do. And I experienced Mifflin Block Party, and you know, those things they were fun at the time, obviously, you know, but ultimately towards the end, I realized that, you know, they were just distractions for me.
Oh
But
yeah.
you know, but they were great, man. I'm sure if you went, you could testament to that. It's a lot of
Oh
fun
yeah.
for a lot of
Well,
people.
I came from Miami and everybody was making fun of me because they were all in shorts and t-shirts and I was in long johns the entire week. It was so cold, man. And I still don't do well in cold weather, but all right,
Yeah.
let's go past that. So you have a great senior year. You lead the country in you know, you lead the college game in assists and talk to me about, you know, getting drafted and going to Orlando.
Yeah, I think that the draft process was obviously super stressful and crazy, and just the sense that I had no idea where I was going to end up. Um, but obviously, having being selected by Orlando, I don't think there was a better fit for me. Just from the get go, I've really embraced my role here and enjoyed it because we have such good fans, you know, such a beautiful stadium. I think that the club has a good idea and a good direction of where we're going. And it's also allowed me to grow as a player, right? I got some really important, valuable game experience my first 2 years. And it's obviously paid me well going into this season as well. I think that all of it kind of counts and has accumulated and compounded up until to this point. But yeah, getting drafted by Orlando was awesome. I was excited to come down here and live in the palm trees where I had always associated palm trees with vacation. When I was little, I would come here and, you know, you'd see those and you'd be like, dang, this place is so nice. The weather's awesome. Coming from Wisconsin and Chicago, you're in the freezing cold year round pretty much. Maybe you get 2 months where you're blessed with some sun, but no, yeah, Orlando was, me and my now fiance, we're really excited to be moving down here.
Until the humidity hits you.
Yes, the heat is something I've never experienced in my life. So I still haven't really adapted to that. I don't know what to tell people when they say, "Oh yeah, you'll get used to it. It's a training advantage." I disagree. I think it's hard. I think it's harder.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Especially Central Florida, man. It's you know, if you're on the coast, you get a breeze, and this in the central part, it's just mosquitoes and humidity. So,
Yeah.
you know, and talk to me a little bit about Jason Christ. You know, and getting there, and you know, we had a tough first year, but talk to me about you know, just your initial reactions to either him or someone else that really helped you when you got to Orlando.
Yeah, I think that Jason was obviously awesome. I unfortunately only had him for like 9 or 10 games before he got sacked. Um, but I think that I did learn a lot from him, and he obviously brought me to a club where I was able to get, like I mentioned earlier, some valuable playing time, and I was working with a really good group of guys too. I think that the veterans had really taken me under their wing really well. I was really excited to work with guys like Dom and guys like Sasha, who had led the league in assists the year prior, and I was coming from college having led that league in assists, and I was just super excited to pick this guy's brain and to to be able to play with guys like Dom and see how he was training and see how he was scoring goals in training was awesome. I was also super excited to play with Jonathan Spector, having been a Chicago boy, playing for the Sockers. Obviously had a pretty illustrious career. Same with Will Johnson and some of these guys. So I just came in with that sort of mentality where I was just trying to be open, trying to learn from everybody, and just take what I could and try and become better every day.
Okay, and then for those that aren't watching this, that are listening, I've got my a DC United jersey. Your first game was against DC United, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you're the first guy I've interviewed that I didn't play in the league with. So
Uh,
I've literally never stepped on you or kicked you or done anything bad. So I feel like there's no bad blood. So I'm able to talk about things like that. But you did bring up the coaching change. Talk to me a little bit about what it's like. I mean, you're so young when this happens, right? You're 9, 10 games in. This is your new normal, I guess. But talk to me a little bit about getting a coaching change in the middle of the year.
yeah, I think that you're just like forced to adapt. Initially, I had been a little bit worried because Jason was the guy who brought me in, and obviously he liked me and he was giving me a lot of chances to play. Um, and with that change, I thought that things might change, or we'll see what it brings. What does the new identity we're gonna have? How are we gonna play? Who's gonna play? You start thinking all these questions in your head, and ultimately, I was just driving myself crazy. But some of the veterans were able to talk to me and obviously bring me up to reality and help me through that transition, because I do think it's hard for a young player when something like that happens. There's a lot of question marks up in the air, and I think that ultimately it was a really good growing experience.
Okay, and I don't want to get too much into James. I do want to talk about Oscar. I've been a big fan of his. I go way back with him. Talk to me about. Obviously, you have some rough years there. Getting acclimated to the league in terms of the results, but I think you as a player have always improved year over year, and you're gaining more confidence as we see. In this current season. But talk to me a little bit about what Oscar's brought to this group. That I know there's a lot of transition players as well, but something is different. It's something that he's done has also gotten the most out of you guys in order to achieve the things y'all have achieved this year.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I really, really enjoy working with Oscar. I haven't had a relationship with a coach in the pros like I have had with Oscar, and how I've seen him manage players has been different. I haven't had any experience like I have had working under him. And I think that for me, the biggest difference was I'm learning so much about how to really play the game of football. And we have a system and we have a way of playing. And he's taught me ways to, see the spaces, understand the spaces, where to make these decisions, and just little things that I had never been exposed to and never learned in my career. So and having someone who ultimately is able to give you confidence to go out there and to be yourself, and to tell you that he believes in you, and those things are invaluable as a player. When you have the manager who backs you, you go out there and you'll kill and die for your manager and for your teammates. And I think that camaraderie, that culture, that system, and when you add it all together, just the team aspect, from even not even only from Oscar, but the assistant coaches and Josema and the fitness coach and Fabian, these guys are ingrained, they're engulfed in this process of just, of winning, of football. They live this, they breathe this, they go in and they watch film. Like I can mostly relate with them. It's crazy. And it's been such a great experience for me. I think having been able to learn from them and be able to work with them, it's been incredible. And obviously you can see that with everybody. It's not only me. He's not only bringing out the best in me, but he's bringing out the best in all the players on the roster who, Daryl steps in and he's having an unbelievable breakout season. And who would have thought, a kid from college, the guys who are transitioning to the league, Ruan's having an outstanding season, Antonio Carlos coming in from Brazil. These guys are all, it's just the whole group is just blending in such a good way that obviously you have to tip your hat to the top, because it's the leader who runs things and gets guys on the same page. So that I think that overall, when you look at our season as a whole, I think that just kind of points to the kind of manager Oscar is.
Yeah, no, I tell you, you can see something different. I've got this Atlanta jersey back when they were good. Um, and there's this big rivalry there, and for the longest time there was a bit of a joke. Oh, it's not even a real rivalry, and now it's kind of swung full circle. And I think it has a lot to do with just belief, right? And Oscar kind of there were a lot of ties and there were some bad results for Orlando, but now it's kind of swung full tilt. And I think it has a lot to do with belief. But talk to me a little bit about, do you consider it a rivalry? I hope you do. But,
Yeah.
you've got Miami now, but as far as I'm concerned, I would always mark my calendar for an Orlando Atlanta game.
Yeah, I think that for me personally, I have a different little heat against Atlanta just because obviously we've been rivals with them, and coming into the league I've tried to like live and die and bleed purple for this club, and knowing that we hadn't been able to beat them, and since I had been in the league, I don't think they had ever beaten Atlanta until this year. It was something that always just rubbed me the wrong way. It got under my skin because I felt like they didn't, have respect for us. And it goes deeper than just the game of football. And, their fans disrespected our fans. And, it goes back and forth. Obviously, these people off the pitch are always having something to say about the game. And which I think is great. I think it fuels the rivalry. I think that it's good for both clubs, but it also was hard when you haven't had anything good turn your way in those games. So to get a couple of those big rivalry wins, the one in Mercedes-Benz Arena this year, at home, we should have beat them, and we unfortunately gave up a last-minute goal. But just the way that we're playing them, and now you can kind of feel the belief in the group has kind of changed over. But I definitely think that the rivalry is running deep between the two clubs, even having not had that much history. I think that history is ultimately what and time is what feeds big rivalries. When you look at the big clubs in Europe, all the teams that have those true rivalries that run deep through the fans for long periods of time, I think that just in more time that will continue to grow. But
Yeah, no, I like to give Atlanta people a hard time. They let me go, and now they're suffering the curse. So I have a
yeah,
history of every team I've ever left. They suffer a curse. I mean, Atlanta did win the MLS Cup, but we're not gonna say that I cursed them. The curse took a little longer than usual after I
yeah,
left.
had to sink in.
But let's talk a little bit about. I mean, I'm sure you probably have answered this question from I call it the generic soccer fans, right? And um, they're they're always like, oh, who's on your team? And we've got Nani. You two seem to have kind of a bond on the field. He for as competitive as I think you are, he might be more competitive in terms of the guys wears his heart on his sleeve. You both look like you've never missed a day in the gym. What's y'all's relationship like on and off the field?
I think it's great. I think that obviously having someone like him in the locker room with his vast experience just around the world, having won all the biggest competitions, played in the biggest stages. He's an outstanding player, and I think that when I knew that we were signing him, I was so excited because I'm someone who loves to learn and loves to learn from the best of the best, and he's right up there with them. His experience and where he's been in the game of football and what he's given to the game of football is unmatched for anyone I've ever played with or shared a locker room with. So certainly he's come in, and I think that he's been a really good mentor for me and given me some really good tips. Obviously, we play the same position, so I'm learning things day by day with him. You see how he takes care of his football. He lives and breathes the game. He goes home. He's doing things for his craft and trying to just continue to be the best version of himself, which I really appreciate and I really respect as a leader. So in that sense, he's come here and he's give 110% of his effort. I think sometimes you see big stars come here and kind of take their foot off the gas a little bit, but he's definitely one who's put his foot to the floor and put the pedal to the metal. He really wants to win, and when you have someone like that in the locker room who's been where he's been, but also wants to continue to prove and win more, you're going to go out there and die for each other.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun to watch. You kind of hinted at you always want to keep learning. Let's talk a little bit about Be the Best and your book club. I don't think for those that don't know about it, why don't you give me your elevator pitch on what it is?
The book club or BTB?
Both. I want to do BTB, and then I want to do talk a little bit about the book club.
Okay, well, BTB was something that me and one of my now groomsmen for my upcoming wedding came up with when we were at school in college. Uh, he's like in coding and a music producer and just someone in brand and content and just a really good guy who ended up meeting. We were sitting on his couch one day and we came up with that idea of BTB because I would always come in and we would talk about football and we would just have these long, ambitious conversations in his apartment. And we ended up creating that BTB kind of just as the lifestyles we were living every day, trying to be the best version of ourselves and striving to maximize our potential every single day. And that kind of just encompasses what I brought into the league and into my craft and now into the book club where, like I also mentioned earlier, books have just given me a different perspective on life. I can't even measure up the value that I've gotten from the books that I've had and from just what I've learned and how I now see life and how I now see my career and my work ethic and everything is come, I think, of accumulation of just reading and constantly wanting to learn, constantly wanting to be the best. So I created this book club to use my platform in sort of a unique way where um, I was thinking of ways in my first couple of years of how could you use your platform. People, you have this special, stance in society of being a professional athlete, and people listen and want to know what you have to say. So I figured, not even something that I have to say, but let me just pass along this information that I've picked up over the years that I have felt has really given me a lot of value in my life. And not only helped me in football, but just helped me live a happier life, help me live in more joy and enjoy every single day because they're all blessings, right? So I just wanted to find a way and use my platform to give back to the people who wanted to hear and learn more and continue to be the best versions of themselves. And that's ultimately what BTB has become. Through the book club, we just dissect books. Every week, we have people who, give their analyzations and comments on the blog. And it's great, honestly. I found it very, very fun, very helpful. And ultimately, it gives me that sense of contribution where I feel like I'm giving back and I'm serving people. And I always said that if I could just help one person, have a better day by sending out a tweet, be positive today, like, be grateful, count your blessings, then my job is done. If I'm just helping one person, that's good enough for me. Let's just use this time that I'm here to help and to give back what I know.
And do you feel like I know that I think it's been pretty well received by the fans and, even people that are maybe not even fans of Orlando, people like to read. And I think everybody, you get on Twitter, you get on Instagram, there's always people that are, they're always like, oh, someone give me a good book. And you look and there'll be like 2,000 comments, where everyone always wants to recommend something or a book that changed their life. How have your teammates handled this? Do they give you a hard time about it in terms of being a bookworm, or are they actually reading some of these books you recommend as well?
No, yeah, a lot of them I haven't actually got a hard time by anybody. I think ultimately, I think people kind of, I don't want to say respect it, but respect it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
um, but yeah, I have good conversations with some of the other guys in the locker room who like to read and like to, be on that constant, path of improvement and want to learn and I'm all about these personal growth books. I don't really read a lot of fiction. No, nothing against anybody who reads fiction for leisure. I think that that's great. I think it's a great way to use your time. But for me, I'm just constantly trying to find ways to be better, and having those conversations. And I think I've also inspired some guys in the locker room to start reading, who maybe have not read before. And um, obviously, as I continue to grow in my career and on the field, I think that influence will just continue to grow as well.
And I signed up for the book club. Tell people how they can join your book club and get updates. I think the obstacle is the way was when I joined was the book, and I read it in like 2 days. It was pretty good. So
Hey, that's good. It was funny because the obstacle is the way was a book that actually one of my former teammates in college.
Yeah, I read it. I
It's
read
going
about
through.
it.
Yeah. But it's been awesome. You're creating that community of like-minded individuals where, maybe my time got a little bit busy with games Wednesday, Saturday, and I'm trying to focus on the season. Maybe you don't have too much time for this. Then all of a sudden you've built this platform. You can hand it off to somebody else who maybe has a little bit more time, and bam, you're continuing to provide people with this information. But no, people can join through the link in my social media bios. It's always there, or you can join by going to bethebest-btb.com.
And then you brought up social media. Tell us what's your favorite platform. I'm going to assume a pretty young guy like yourself is Instagram, but I don't want to put anything out there. What do you like to use the most?
I would say I use Instagram and Twitter the same. I'm also, I see it for the value and the business aspect that it provides, but I also see the destruction that it can cause in the sense of just taking you out of the moment, out of the present, and comparison. And there's a lot of negatives that I think that come along with social media, but I try and balance it with obviously the benefits that I see from having social media in 2020.
Yeah, well, I think you're a very positive guy and you're well spoken, and it's hard to I always say poke holes, in a guy that wants to improve himself, a guy that shows up to work and that you produce results. But I got this shirt behind me here. I want to talk a little bit about the national team. I think me personally, my belief is because of the pandemic and also your role in the playoffs. I thought you should have been called into this young group that's been playing games recently. There's a lot of talk that you and your young goal scoring phenom teammate is going to be. I want to call him Bright, but it's Daryl, right?
Yeah.
His brother. See, I played against his brother, so I get names confused. We've been hitting the head so many times. But I thought, there's a lot of talk that you two guys are going to be, or at least should be in the mix. Obviously that's got to be a goal of yours. And how do you feel about where you're progressing? And do you think that's obviously playoffs are most important, but that's the next progression in your game?
I mean, yeah, I think that obviously any kid who plays, level football at this level aspires to play for their country. I think that that's the greatest honor that you can have as a footballer. It's something that I've never done in my career, not even in the youth levels. I've never played for the U.S. or gotten called into any camps. So it's definitely been something on my list. I can't lie about that. But I've also let go of it and let go of that portion of trying to control that part of my process. I believe that it will come when I'm ready. When I continue to grow and continue to show that I'm ready to play at that level. I don't think it's something that they should just be handing around to anybody. It's a high honor. There's only 11 people who are going to play out of 350 million who walk around the United States of America. So I look at it as in a very high regard, but I'm also kind of just letting it happen when it does and trying to focus, like I said, on my process of trying to get better every day, of trying to be better in the next training and in the next game, because ultimately I know that in football, that's all that really matters. So I believe it will come just in due time whenever the universe feels that I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I think it should be here pretty soon. So I'd love to see what you could do out there with some of those guys. And honestly, the guys that I saw in the last couple games, how young and talented they are, and then some of the younger guys in the league, yourself included. I'm pretty excited, as a fan. When you play, you're always judging yourself against guys and saying, I could bring a different element than that guy. And, now that I'm step back, I'm just excited for guys like yourself, one, to get the opportunity, and two, I think that you bring something that no one else does. And the question will be, does Greg or whoever is the coach, do they see what you can do as a need, and can you fill that hole? So, I think obviously the focus is what's at hand in terms of the playoffs, but I wouldn't be surprised to have your name lobbed in the next round of guys that get called in. So good luck with that. And last thing I want to talk about, and I'll let you go, is you're kind of known around. I say the casual fans that watch, all-star games and they check in for the primetime games, the skills challenge, where you guys, you and your teammates played against some guys from Europe, and you hit I'm gonna call it an overhead kick because I know you're proper. You call it football. I call it soccer. But you hit a great kick, and you won some money to build a field there in Orlando. You seem like a charitable guy. I know you had an indestructible ball initiative. It's kind of hard right now with the pandemic, but what are you trying to work on, or what do you have going on off the field that kind of helps the community?
Well, definitely, I think that the book club was the first, not necessarily charitable, but something that kept me busy off the field that I felt like could help people, especially during the quarantine, was when I kicked it off and helping people stay inside and do things that are continuing to help them improve themselves. But I do have something special coming, hopefully, that I can get done. It's on my goal list for the end of 2020 to get it out and to get it ready. I don't want to disclose what it exactly is yet,
Okay.
but I do want people to know that there is something really special that I've been working really hard on bringing to everybody. So,
All right. We'll know that on your social channels.
yes, you will.
All right. Well, I like that. I like that. You kind of give them a teaser, right? So
Yeah,
you could
yeah.
be a writer. You could be a writer. You don't, you lead people on and say, all right, I got to come back for more.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, listen, I'm congrats on making the playoffs. Congrats on the great season you've had thus far. I wish you luck going forward, and really just appreciate you spending some time today. I know there's a lot of fans out there that they're real supportive of the younger guys, and you're one of the best ones in the league. So I appreciate the time you've given to us, and good luck in your future endeavors.
No, thanks a lot for having me, and I enjoyed it, and I appreciate your support and the words. It means a lot. So thank you.
All right, everybody. That's Chris Mueller. You can check him out on all his social channels. You can catch him in the playoffs for Orlando City, their first time making it. And don't be shocked if they make a run at this thing.